Well, hello, welcome back to Tale 3 Cabins. As I said earlier, we decided to trade in our hybrid travel trailer for a new trailer. All right, out with the old, in with the new. And we stated some of the reasons, the pros and cons for having a hybrid travel trailer. We had its final farewell tour about a couple weeks ago, towards the beginning and middle of September. And then the very next day, we traded it in. We actually had it in the works since the middle of summer. We ordered a 2025. We had looked at some 2024 models. This is a Keystone Cougar. It's basically a couple's model. It's half-ton towable. I'll go over some of the specs in a little bit. We used to have a hybrid which had the soft bunk sets fold out, and now some say we've gone to the dark side or the hard side. And I thought I would go over some of the reasons we made the change. If you looked at my pros and cons video, you probably know some of the cons, and that's obviously some of the reasons why we went to the hard side. I want to break this video down into three main parts. So the reason that we changed, why we went from a hybrid camper to this one. I also want to talk about some of the things we're going to miss that our old camper had and that this one doesn't. And then I want to talk about a difference in model year. So when we originally looked at a 2024, when we made the order, we knew that it was going to be a 2025 once it came in the middle of September. That being said, there were a lot of changes from the 2024 to the 2025. And I want to go over some of that with you. So if you are out there shopping for your first camper, or you currently have a travel trailer and you're going to upgrade to a new one, I just want you to be cautious on what you order or what you decide to do, because they don't talk about a lot of these changes. There's usually not a lot of options to choose from when you order these things. There's maybe a slide out cover that was an option, and the booth and the table inside was an option, but we didn't have much to choose from. But from 2024 to 2025, there were a lot of changes. Some for the good, some for the bad. And to me, kind of really bad. So let's get started. We'll go inside and we'll talk about the reasons we changed. The number one reason we decided to upgrade to a different travel trailer was this king-size bed. With our old hybrid camper, there was a lot of tearing down the sheets, tearing down the mattress, putting it back up the very next day. If you're traveling from different places from day to day, it gets a little monotonous, it gets a little fatiguing. And if you pull in somewhere at 10 o'clock at night, the last thing you want to worry about is trying to get a good night's sleep and setting up the bed. This way, this bed is always made now. If we pull in somewhere late at night, we could just hop right into bed, get up in the morning and take off. There's no setup. Also, the king size bed is great because that's what we have now in our bedroom, and our dog sleeps with us. So going from a queen size to what we used to have with her in the bed is a major difference than having a king size. When you're traveling from place to place and using your travel trailer, 1/3 of the experience is sleeping. And if you don't get a good night's sleep and you wake up to head out on the road and have a long travel day, it just gets a little bit fatiguing on the road. And having a good night's sleep was important to us. So the number one reason was to just have a nicer sleeping experience with a king size bed and not having to break it down and set it up every time we made a stop. Another thing we wanted was more kitchen space. So with this trailer, we have a good sized counter area here, a good place to do dishes or some prep work. We also have this counter space here next to the oven, a place to set up coffee, toast, a little bit more storage when it comes to pots and pans, and drawers for silverware. We only had a couple drawers on the other one. This one just gives us a lot more storage, a lot more room when it comes to cooking and prepping food and then washing dishes. There are a few more things that you basically can't see, but they are structurally a little bit better than our old travel trailer. Also, some safety features such as anti-lock brakes. And then there's the Armor Road system, which helps make a smoother ride when you're going down the road. Not so much that you're in here when you're towing, but it's less vibration, and the less vibration the better, because it seems the rougher the ride and more vibration that these RVs take, the more things come loose or want to start falling off the walls. And having a smoother ride is pretty important in the long run of your RV. So all in all, comparing our old travel trailer to this one, those are really the only features that we feel we're much better off and probably worth the change to us. But now let's talk about some of the things that we're going to miss. And for example, this vent up here. All it is an air vent that opens up when you twist this. There's no built-in fan. It's just a lid that pops open, and there's no cover on top. So our old travel trailer had a nice built-in max air fan. So if you open this up and turn the fan on and had your windows open, it would really cool off very quickly here. You could really tell a difference on a hot day when you open those vents. The bathroom area, same type of vent. This one does have a fan. It's very important to have a fan in your bathroom in an RV because you're in a pretty tight space. But this exhaust fan is terrible. It's not much bigger than a computer fan you might find in the back of a tower of a computer. If you turn it on, it makes a ton of noise. Doesn't really move too much air. I wouldn't say that it would be good for cooling. It might remove some of the odors, but again, our last trailer had a max air fan in there with a covered lid. So if you forgot and left this lid open and it started raining, none of the water would come in. In fact, you could leave it open all the time. It's probably not a good idea when you're driving down the road, even though it wouldn't hurt things. But if you have a dusty ride, you might get some dust come in this vent area. But to me, I'm a little surprised that they didn't opt to have a better fan in here, and no fan at all in the other vent. It doesn't serve much of a purpose. So I'm probably going to change these out. I already bought the fan for this to change out. It shouldn't be too bad of a change to just undo these screws, drop this out, reconnect with the same power supply that this fan is using, have a little bit more air circulation here. The other one might be a bit of a problem because I don't know if there's going to be any power access there. I do want to put a vent fan above the bed. So that's one thing that we enjoyed about our previous trailer that we don't have in this one. Okay, continuing on in the bathroom, right down here is an on-demand water heater. Our old trailer had a 6-gallon hot water heater tank, and it worked off of propane or it worked off of electric. So if you were hooked up at a trailer park, you could just use the electric and heat your water. If you're out boondocking, you could turn the propane on and still have hot water. So this operates on propane also, but it only operates on propane. It does use a little electricity to give you the spark and to maintain the flame in the unit itself. I kind of think it's a drawback for me because you're going to use more propane with this. Even if you're at a trailer park and you have full hookups and you're hooked up to electric, this is still going to use propane up. Also, it's going to take time for this to heat up the water, and by the time it travels over here, you've wasted a fair amount of water. When you're talking boondocking, every precious drop of water is worth saving. So if you think of the amount of time for that to heat up, you're waiting for this water to come out of your shower drain, and you don't want to actually start your shower until it warms up. And then just using hot only, I am going to see how long it takes for it to get warm. It took about 3/4 of a gallon of water before this got warm enough to start taking your shower. So you've wasted that water. You've wasted fresh water, and then you've also filled up space in your gray tank because that's all going down the drain. Now, I have talked to some people that have talked about using a bucket when they go in the shower, and we'll do a little test, I think, in the future of how long it takes for hot water to get here to there, how much you're actually wasting. If you do fill up a bucket, you could probably use it as one flush of your toilet if you want to, and that's just what I've read from some other people. I kind of liked having the old hot water tank that we used to have before. And, you know, this is nice, I guess, if you have multiple people taking multiple showers, but this is a couples camper. And in the past, Karen and I have been able to take showers consecutively, one after another, maybe wait 15 minutes in between. The 6-gallon has always been nice to have a good long shower. The other thing is if you stop the water periodically, let's say you take a Navy shower, which is get yourself wet, shut off the water, lather up, turn on the water, rinse off, and you're done. In between that pause, there's a good chance that you're going to have a little bit of a cold snap between that water coming through the pipes. So you're going to stop. Obviously, it's going to shut off and stop heating the water. And there's going to be a little bit of a gap. So you're probably going to get like 5, maybe even 10 seconds where you're going to have to reheat that water again. And when you go to turn that water on, you're either wasting it, standing off to the side so you don't have the cold water hitting you, or you're going to have a chilly rinse off. So that's a few drawbacks. There's another thing that we had here, and let me go over to the shower area. All right, our previous trailer had what was called a water miser attached to the controls for your shower. So in the center here, there was a valve that you turned, and while you're waiting for warm water to show up, it would recirculate that water back into your fresh water tank. So you didn't lose any water while you were waiting for hot water to show up at the end of your spray nozzle on your shower. Now, basically, this doesn't have it. That is one feature that I liked and enjoyed because we did boondock a lot and we conserved our water a lot of times. It was always nice to know that you could let that water run and you know it was going back into your fresh water tank. But now that is, again, is just going to be filling up your gray tank. All right, this one is a 2-4. It's really on the lines of changing model year plus changing or upgrading your RV trailer. Okay, so on old travel trailer, we had a little entertainment system that was set up here, and basically it could take CDs or DVDs. It had presets for radio stations. It had a built-in AM/FM radio. Did Bluetooth, the whole works. So it looked like a little car dash type of radio. But on here, all it is just a simple little power pad. When you turn it on, it turns blue. And you only have a choice of using Bluetooth or TV audio. So if you're using Bluetooth, you have to use it off your phone. You have to have an internet connection to be able to stream something to it. You have an A and a B on the bottom here. So the A would be interior speakers, B would be exterior. You could play both at the same time. But to me, I was disappointed that we cannot play a radio or stereo, especially if you're boondocking somewhere. There is no internet available and you can't stream anything to your phone or device. You can still pick up a radio station here and there, and now that feature is not available. We're also having an issue with it where a lot of times you do want to pipe your TV speakers through the RV speakers, either the outside ones or the inside or both, especially now if you're watching football and maybe you're outside grilling and you want to pipe the sound out to the speakers outside to hear what's going on. But that feature is not working here. I've been working with the dealer and the manufacturer, and this component is so new that people don't have a clue what the issue is. It's a combination of the smart TV and this device. As far as I can ascertain is that they use an HDMI port that comes out of the TV and goes into this device here. And you have to have a special setting on the smart TV, which is called ARC, which is an audio setting which will turn that input of an HDMI into an output and send an audio signal to this. I don't want to get too technical, but basically it's not working. It just gives me a lot of clicks and buzzes, especially when you change the channels, and we're still trying to work that out. But if this don't work out, I would love it if they were to just go back to something similar that we used to have. Some of the changes from the old model to the new model. I brought up the thing about the radio and the entertainment system. The old one didn't have these drawers down here. They were basically just flat. And if you wanted to use this for storage, you would have to lift up this cushion and lift up the base of the seat. Now they do have drawers put on there, which is nice on both sides. Another thing they added were drawers down here, which they never used to have before, was just a large storage area when you lift up the king-size bed. But now there is storage here still. And then you have these drawers that they put in. So it's a little bit easier to manage storage. So that's a nice feature and a nice change. I think the worst change from the 2024 to the 2025 model on this particular unit was the control panel here. This is all toggle switches, but the 2024 model basically had what they called an in-command system. Instead of these toggle switches and push buttons to see what the levels of your gray tank and black tank were, they used to have a nice LCD screen, and it was basically about this size, maybe about a 10-inch screen, and it incorporated every control of your trailer. It was very nice. You could pull in and out your awning. You could do your slide on here. You could check all your tank levels. It worked with the solar system that you had on the roof. It also controlled the thermostat on here. And the best thing about it is that it was controllable by your phone. So if you were away, and this is one feature that I was hoping that it was still going to have, if we leave our dog here and we go away, it would be nice to monitor the temperature inside the RV and know if we need the air conditioner on, or maybe if the air conditioner isn't working properly and the temperature is climbing in there, we know to come back, make sure our doggy doesn't overheat. But that's all gone now. This is just toggle switches. I know when I looked up the in-command system, just the faceplate with the LCD screen on it was $1,200. This unit here, if I had to replace it, is $200. So there is a savings of money. I believe there was also a lot of problems with user error and maybe just errors in general of the in-command system, where a lot of people had to reboot things and it wasn't working as well. And maybe it's just a warranty or tech support type nightmare for the company, so they went back to this. But I was really hoping to have that in-command system because I thought it was pretty cool. This to me seems like a step backwards. It would have been nice to at least give you a choice, even if you had to pay a little bit more for it. But it came in like this. We were kind of blindsided by it that it didn't have it on there. We still weighed out, the pros and the cons, and we still accepted the RV. We could have just said no, or maybe we could have bought a 2024 model. And I'm just covering this stuff so when you're out there shopping around, maybe look at things with a little bit more detail and specifics, because they don't really cover a lot of that stuff. As I said, when you talk about options, don't take things for granted thinking that the same model year is going to be exactly as next year and just be a fresher, newer, greater smelling type of RV. But this was the main thing, and then there's a few other things too. So I mentioned the thermostat. So they did change the thermostat. It's no longer in the in-command system. They give you this little digital one here, which basically just controls your heat, air conditioning, fan. There's a mode called dry mode on here, which I suppose is to take the humidity out of the air. But there's no way to make this Wi-Fi, and there's no way to really monitor this if you're going to be away from your trailer for a while. They do make some third-party manufacturers. Oh, you might think, well, maybe I could just get a smart thermostat that you would normally use in your home. But I believe it's the R-wire that RVs don't have, and that's mostly required on a lot of the smart thermostats. There is a company out there now that is making a smart thermostat for RVs. It's a little pricey. It's around $200 to $250. But if you need to swap it out, and we'll weigh that out if we need to do that. We might just buy some regular temperature sensors that you can put on Wi-Fi and monitor the temperature of the RV like that when we do leave our dog behind. Okay, propane tanks. The previous model, the 2024 model, came with 30-pound propane tanks, 2 of them. So they probably came up to about here. And these are 20 pounds. No notice about the change, no reason why they changed it. I don't know if they tried to lighten up the tongue weight or not, or what the reason was for it. But to me, if I'm going to be using that propane on-demand water heater, I would probably like to have larger propane tanks because my demand of propane is going to go up. But that was another feature that I don't understand. Now we still can go out and buy 30-pound propane tanks. Just to buy an empty 30-pound propane tank is around $69. So you could buy 2 of those. You would have to extend the bracket, which is basically just a threaded rod here, and bring it up a little higher. And then you'd also have to buy a new shroud for it, which would be made for 30-pound propane tanks. So a little bit of an expense if we want to upgrade. You're probably looking at, not the cost of propane, but you're probably looking at a good $200 to get this up to 30 pounds a piece. They put in a new water system here, and it's basically set up kind of like most fifth wheels are. So your water comes up through here. You have your normal valves that you can go from tank fill to just normal flow. So if you're hooked up to city water, this would be the city water connection. And if you have pressure, well, then you would just use that. If you're using your tank, you're going to just go inside and turn on the water pump. But if you see the tank fill here, it works fine if you have a pressured hose. So if I hook it up to the house here, or if I'm at a trailer park, I can fill up my water tank. But if you're boondocking somewhere, and let's say it's shoulder season, or it's kind of like around a chilly time of year, either in the spring or late fall, and they've turned off most of the spigots in your park, say it's a state park, and you want to fill up this tank using a jug or even like a gallon container, our old RV had a freshwater fill on the side where you could do that. So if you had a jug, you just stick the spigot in there, and it's just made for filling up that freshwater tank. There is no freshwater fill on this except for using pressured hose water, turning this valve. So that's a bit of a disappointment, because there are times when we do boondock and maybe you just need an extra 5 or 10 gallons to get you through the next day or two, and you just want to load it back into your trailer. Unless you have a pressurized hose, that's not going to work for you. I am working on a workaround, and I think I'm going to be successful. I'll probably talk about that in a future video, but it will involve using the winterizing valve over here. A few things that our old trailer had that this one doesn't when it comes to lighting is outdoor lighting. We did have the awning light like you see up here, the LED strip of lights. But then we also had like a bright yellow LED bug light. So if you're in an area where there's a lot of gnats, there are a lot of bugs flying around that time of year, you can turn on that bug light and you won't have them swarming around your door here. If you're using the awning light all the time, they do attract bugs certain times a year. and that is a little bit of a pain. Another light that I used to like having too, if we didn't want to be too obtrusive to our neighbors and I was taking the dog at night, was just a little step light that they had like right here, just a little LED step light, and that was a great feature. Our previous trailer, you were able to control things off of Bluetooth or off of your phone, which was nice, because if you were pulling out your awning and you wanted to be standing here and making sure it's not going to hit a tree, you could use your phone and be right next to that tree and get as close as you can. Same thing with the slide. You could control your slide with your phone. And this has no way of controlling anything with your phone, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Because when I would take the dog out and maybe I accidentally left the light on and I'm back in bed already and I think to myself, did I shut off the porch light or the awning light? I could grab my phone and I could shut those lights off when I forgot. We're here, I would have to get out of bed, go back to the switches. So just another little convenience factor that we're going to miss. Storage. This does have more storage, but is basically contained in just one large area, where our other one had a little bit of storage in the back and a little bit of storage in the front. This one is just large. It's going to be, some people have made like a little drawer system or maybe set up a shelf system. We're going to have to make some modifications here to try to take advantage of the way we have storage, just so when you're trying to get to something, you don't have to pull every single thing out to reach something that might be on the bottom of the pile of all your things that you keep with you. Right now, we don't have a lot of stuff in here. It's just the two of us, and we're basically pretty conservative with our items. But I could see this filling up a little bit more when we're going on a long trip, maybe a month or two. Nevertheless, the storage is nice. One thing I like here is that there is a plug in here, and it works off the inverter. So if we do hook up Starlink, I can run the Starlink cable up through here and then have the router mounted in here. Just let it sit on a shelf, plug it in, and it's not taking up any space, and I'm not worried about running the cable through a door or a window, or even some people run their cable through a slide. Some people get really carried away and drill a hole through the side of their RV, make a special connection for the Starlink or other services. I'd be leery about doing that because, as you know, with phones and everything, connections do change from time to time. Things are proprietary. We have a larger dish, but now they make a mini dish. This is a great way for us to use Starlink under wraps here, where prior we were just running it through one of the zippered windows, setting the router itself on a little shelf, but this is going to work out better for us. Another feature that's a little bit better off for us is our old RV. We did have solar panels up on the roof. The inverter itself was only 1,000 watts, and 1,000 watts would run most everything, but if you wanted to make a cup of coffee, use a toaster or the microwave, you could not do that. But this one has a larger inverter. It's 2,000 watts, so you pretty much can run anything you need to run when it comes to high wattage devices. It also has expandability. So right now we have 440 watts on the roof. I already changed our battery out to a lithium ion phosphate battery. It has a little bit better solar package compared to our old one, and it is expandable. There is one thing that I think is a little drawback. Our old trailer did have a remote for the inverter on the inside of the trailer. Inverters notoriously use power even if they're not running anything. The way this is set up is it's supposed to be the inverter's always on. But if you're boondocking, that's going to drain your battery, especially overnight, and you're sleeping and you don't have anything running. The inverter is going to draw some current to it. There is a switch where you could shut it off manually, but let's say I get up in the morning, it's pouring rain, I want to make a cup of coffee. I have to run out, turn that switch outside for the inverter to turn it on, and power the outlets on the inside. Where our old trailer had a little button that was just simply mounted below the bunk of the bed, and you just hit that. It was a remote for the inverter. You tapped it and it turns on. Tap it again, you could shut it off. So you could shut it off at night and not waste power. But if you just temporarily need to use it really quick, it was simple and easy to manually turn it on and off from the inside. Now they do make a remote for this, and I'm probably going to buy one. It's around 90 bucks, but it's just another little expense to try to get back to certain things that we used to have with our old RV. All right, so really I made this video for people that are out shopping for a new trailer, or if you're shopping for your second trailer. Really pay attention to details, because you might miss some of the things you have in your existing trailer that you're trading up to, or you might miss things that happen between model years, from a new model year to an older model year. Generally, you would hope a new model year would get better. And to me, it's the jury's still out on it yet. We have to do some traveling with this, see how things shake out in the long run. But I am going to miss not having that in-command system. I know I am. But I enjoyed having the Bluetooth capability on our old one that wasn't as sophisticated as the 2024 models, but it was a disappointment when I saw those toggle switches up there. All in all, just be careful what you're looking for. Do some extensive research. If they're changing model years, do your best you can to find out what the changes are going to be on the new model. When we ordered this, they basically said it's going to be a 2025, but I had no idea that they were getting rid of the in-command system. They had some information about the structural changes of the trailer, which are better because it's all aluminum framed, and now it's completely taken out any of the plywood type material or Luan type material, which is better overall in the long run, especially if you have some water infiltration somewhere in your walls or floor. When it came to some of the finer details, I pretty much was finding stuff out on my own by just doing searches. I actually found out that the out west models were starting to get the 2025s in there, and that's when I learned about the drawers down here and some of the other new features. And that's actually where I learned that this probably was not going to be coming with the in-command system. But my fingers was still crossed that maybe they were in the transition period, that maybe some would have it, some wouldn't have it. But that's my case of woe right now. We still have a nice trailer. We're looking forward to putting a lot of miles on it, and we'll share all that stuff with you. We're also doing some changes to make this a little bit more homier for us, and we're doing some add-ons to make it a little bit more user-friendly and convenient. Like I said, we'll be adding the vent fans that we didn't get. A lot of little tweaks, and everybody goes through that when you have a trailer. And I'll take you with me on some of the journey on getting this up to snuff before we go off on a very long trip. So that's going to do it for today. I appreciate everybody watching. Hope you enjoy and subscribe to these videos. Click on that little bell when you want to know when a new one is coming out. And keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Your accent light?
Yeah, for down there. This one, I believe, is the center. Yeah, that's the center push on that one. Down, so there isn't any extra space. It's just the length of the drawers.
Oh yeah, is this a longer one then?
No, I don't think so. No. So I'm kind of surprised on that.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the hot water heater is right there.
That's a possibility. Okay, then. That's why I was checking to see if it looked hooked.